Okay, I'm back. After about 5 minutes, I got cut off talking about seeds and how it can create abundance and the idea of poverty mentality. So, if you didn't catch that last 5 minutes, which only a couple people did, so I'll start from the beginning. Something happened today with me cutting up a whole bunch of organic red peppers. I mean, like 4 bags of it. And I started saving the seeds. And so many people see seeds as a problem. You know, like I don't like the seeds. Can I have it seedless? We're really pushing this seedless thing for the last few decades. More than that, 60 years, processed food. We don't really know what real food is anymore. And we don't know abundance in food anymore. We pay top dollar. You know, I hear so many people with the Walmart mentality that say, oh, I could never afford organic. I need to go to Walmart and get the cheap food and the processed food and all this stuff. And meanwhile, they're literally dying. They look like crap. Their insides are falling apart. They've got extended bellies. I mean, who knows what the heck's going on with all that. But I want to, if I can, enlighten all of us in this idea of abundance for free, the real truth. I'm going to show you something. This is from like 4 different bags of organic red peppers and some mixed peppers, yellow peppers, orange peppers, whatever. But let me show you something. Look at all these seeds. These all came from the insides of those vegetables. And I harvest them. I'm going to let these sit. I'm going to let them dry. Each one of those seeds creates a plant. Don't tell me we don't have abundance for free. All you need is land. And there's a reason why they don't want you to have land. They want you to have a micro luxury prison cell that you pay $2,500 a month to live in that's 500 square feet with granite countertops. I mean, come on. They shamed the real farmers back in the 1920s, 1930s. They shamed them all in telling them, you know, you're a loser for being a farmer. You know, you should go to the city and make a bunch of money. You want to be like the Great Gatsby. You know, the Great Gatsby was like a big lightning bolt in getting people retuned to wanting to have money more than land or what they have to work. And ultimately, they were living a heck of a lot better than the Great Gatsby did in what he did and what he was about. You know, be the Wall Street guy, be a lawyer, be a doctor in a sickness maintenance culture. Be a lawyer where they profit the more they lie, and they create lots of problems for people. Do we really have to do that? No, we don't. Because this proves it. These seeds. I have an entire garden right here. I have an entire garden right here just for red peppers for free. If I take the time and I have the land or the pots to plant them and let them grow. That's abundance. That's looking at the resources around you. I'm going to take, this is just one example, but it's a metaphor for so many different things in our lives that really truly are abundant that we just don't really truly acknowledge. And therefore we think we're in poverty. And forces in this world that want us to be in poverty for their own advantage love to encourage that mentality. And then there's the whole concept of the hungry ghost. So we're going to get into it tonight. Happy Monday. So if you're in the Walmart mentality, you literally do not know how to grow anything. You think that you have to go to the store, and you don't even know what real food is anymore. And you don't think that a vegetable or a live vegetable is going to really feed you. You think that you've got to have a whole bunch of pizza, you've got to have a whole bunch of frozen foods, you've got to have a whole bunch of processed meat that has tons of toxins in it. Tons of stuff that completely does not feed your energy. And it honestly leaves you void of energy. A lot of things have sugar base because they're addictive. The entire multi-conglomerate food industry has known this for years. They've systematically pulled people away from the farms into the cities and got them addicted to sugar and got them addicted to caffeine and got them addicted to all these different things. That doesn't really feed abundance or nutrition. It feeds their pocketbooks, and it feeds your sickness that feeds into the sickness maintenance industry. That's the truth. But we get addicted to it, and then we don't want to hear the truth. And we'll, you know, and then you're wrapped up in this thing of spending like $300, $400 a week on all this food, you know, and you're getting fat, but you can't stop eating, and you think you're hungry, and you just keep eating because you're eating non-nutritional food. It's the hungry ghost. So imagine the money that you're putting into, because your money is your life force, okay? You're going out in the world doing all this crazy stuff to get $1, and then you're going out and spending all this money on fake food, basically, that only feeds all the nasty things in your gut. It doesn't feed you. You start having skin issues. You start having stomach issues. You start having all kinds of problems. You start looking old. And you're like, what the heck? You know, you're losing your hair. You're like, what's going on? I guess this is normal. This is what it means to get older. Like, you just accept it. But you'd have no idea that it's a lot of it comes from the food that you're buying. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff, but it's true. And who profits? These are the seeds. Plant a garden. You make it happen. The hungry ghost, and once you start literally feeding into that mentality, it's like your whole world ends up being a hungry ghost. You can't get enough, and people can't do enough for you. You become so unbelievably self-centered that and you get in this poverty mentality that you're like, so everyone has to help me, everyone has to give to me, and then if you have to give any little bit to somebody that's ever been there for you, or who's ever actually been generous to you, you get resentful for the little things that you do for them. And you don't want to show it sometimes, you because, you know, if you ultimately showed it, you think that, you know, you'd like, oh, social manners says that that's wrong. But it's a passive-aggressive resentment. And it's really gnarly, you know. For me, I've had very little as far as like money goes for a while, but I found amazing resources in so many things and used it to the best of my abilities, and I've always tried to be as generous as I can with those that I know, and other friends have been unbelievably generous with me, and it's a beautiful thing to experience. But whenever you're around a hungry ghost person, you can do so much, and it's never enough. You can pay their bills. You can bring home organic food. You can share all the things you have. For a hot second, they'll say thank you, but then the next day, it's something else. And it never ends. And they never actually look at what you need or look to return the favor, because they're entitled to think that, well, because you're in my presence, that in of itself is a huge blessing, and I need more than you do, no matter how much less you have than them, and you're still giving. They are so hungry ghosted. I know millionaires that think like this. I'm not joking. I mean, it literally has nothing to do with your bank account, how big your house is. This hungry ghost mentality, I mean, it is pervasive. And people are afraid to share anything. They're afraid to give anything. They're very, oh, it's nasty. It's nasty. So that's what I was thinking about today. And then the whole red pepper thing popped up. And also what I've noticed too, I ride a scooter. That's my thing. That's what I've always done. I love it. I mean, it saves on gas because I hate giving any money into the gas industry. And you know what I notice is that when I scoot around, people smile, you know, and they wave and I wave back and they're happy. Like they're happy. And I'm like, wow, you know, that's really cool. That it makes me happy that just by me driving by and being on this little thing, it makes them happy. And I can connect for a second and share that happiness with them and connect, you know. That's really cool. I like that a lot. And that's happened for a long time. And I love that. Also the generosity of spirit with your time, kindnesses. Some people will get it and some people won't. But I think it's important to recognize the hungry ghost because it's one of those things that it's everywhere. And maybe the hungry ghost thing is what's feeding all this really nasty stuff. Like if we all stopped for a second and really looked at our surroundings and really looked at what we could do, rather than always focus on what we don't have or being envious of others. I think envy is a big thing. Envy is a really nasty thing. Not only does envy devalue yourself in your own mind and devalue all the wonderful gifts that you have on your own, it also puts this really nasty energy towards the person that you envy. It creates discord, it creates disconnection, it creates an uncomfortable situation for both parties. And nothing grows in that kind of soil, nothing. Because when you start with envy, then it becomes, I want what you have, and then it's, I don't value who you are, and I'm grateful for you being in my world. Just for you, I want to take everything that you have and leave you with nothing because I want to be like you. I want to take what you have. Whether you admire someone's art or their hair or their looks or whatever it is, it becomes a murderous kind of mentality. And don't get it twisted. The person on the receiving end knows exactly what that feeling. And it's really scary. It's really creepy. And that's the hungry ghost too. That's a hungry ghost. Never having enough. Never valuing yourself and letting whatever you have grow. Our entire society is based on that. And that's what sells products. That's why you have celebrities. That's why they push beautiful models to model stuff so that you'll be envious and buy products to hopefully look like them. But you know what's funny? In this Luciferian world, when you sign that contract on the dot to become a star, you push the exact products that you would never put on your own body. You push the exact foods you would never, to maintain your beauty and your health and your shape and all that. You think Jennifer Aniston is putting Pepsi-Cola in her body? Please. You know, all these different things. The hair dyes, the Pantene, all that crap actually makes you lose your hair. But you got all these like famous celebrities. Remember the whole got milk thing? Please, they don't drink that stuff. They knew it had a whole bunch of chemicals in it. All those stars, they don't drink it. But they make a bunch of money to tell you to do it because they think they know it will sell because people want to look like you. You see? This is what goes on. They use the hungry ghost against you to keep you in poverty and in sickness and in want. And then because you buy into the products that will never give you the actual effect that you're hoping for, you keep feeding it top dollar all the time. That's the hungry ghost. If you've never heard of the concept of the hungry ghost, it's more of like an Eastern philosophy thing. Look it up, research it for yourself. I've done extensive research on it, and I think it's really fascinating. You know, I'm not trying to push Eastern philosophy, but I think it's very important for people to not be afraid of researching all kinds of different theories, all kinds of different philosophies for your own sake, so that you really know what you're talking about when you say you're against something. Because if you only listen to other people and they're telling you a certain thing, it's kind of like middle school, where they don't want you to really do your own research. Like, let's say we're in middle school and there's this nice girl that shows up and everyone likes her, and there's this whole clique of girls or boys that are immediately threatened because they've got power, they've got control. There's a certain vibe or energy that they're thriving off of in middle school, and this like new girl shows up and it's like, we got to take her down because she's going to wreck our entire thing. So let's start talking smack about her to everybody and saying, hey, she's like this. This is what this means when she does that. She's not really that good of a person. She's not this, she's not that. Let me frame it to you how she is. And then everybody listens to those jagoffs and doesn't really truly find out what that girl's about, to realize they're getting played. This is life. This is politics. This is Hollywood. I mean, it's everywhere. I mean, the middle school game is played everywhere. So it's very important. Don't let anyone make you feel afraid of looking into, for instance, what people want to label the alt-right. Guess who named that? Hillary Clinton. She was the one that defined that concept of the alt-right. So she's already slurring people and then defining them by being the enemy. You really think that you're going to hear the truth from someone like that? She's ultimate middle school player. That game. It's crazy. You know? Listen to issues, listen to individual people. Don't be quick to label them. Especially from leaders that are freaking making money off of the exact opposite thing that they don't want exposed to actually make you free. They want you to live in poverty mentality, poverty living in want. So let's move on to the leaders that push the hungry ghost. There are leaders that love to feed off of people labeling themselves to be less than in all kinds of different realms. And that's a very sad thing. It's a very sick thing to do. We've all gone through tons of challenges personally. But to label yourself as less than so that you can gain some sort of twisted power by saying, because I am less than, I deserve entitlement. And then the entitlement, the prize is getting a gift from the enemy that wants to keep you down, is a very sick thing. We have to be aware. What are you talking about, Kim? Okay. Let's talk about the less fortunate who have to supposedly go into public housing that dictates their health care, that dictates everything in their system. Do you think that there's freedom in that? But there are leaders that are constantly pushing number one, an economy that has everyone living off of $12 an hour, maybe $10 an hour, maybe $7 an hour. Walmart's a perfect example of that. They drink your milkshake. They take away all the real economies and your entrepreneurship to, let's say, for instance, like this. What if someone was smart enough to collect all these seeds, plant a garden, and start selling food and making their own money and being abundant in that? That's a beautiful thing. That's a smart thing. And then you're free to choose what you would like to do with that money, with that life force, to get a home, to build all kinds of different things. And no one can mess with you. There's some people that really don't want that. They want you living in public housing. They want you dependent on what they think is important to give or not to give. They want you to be aligned with the kind of sickness maintenance healthcare system that they profit from. I gotta plug in. This is what's going on. That's the hungry ghost, and it's also when you allow the hungry ghost to come into your personal world, and you start thinking that you have to go along with these things, you really do lose. And the worst part about this whole thing is that on a very human level, in your community, when you meet someone that doesn't buy into that, and they are doing their own thing, or they're attempting to do their own thing, instead of supporting them or encouraging them, you want to see them go down. Because who are they to think that they could get beyond what I believe is the reality for my own life? Ooh. Yowzer. That's a nasty thing, isn't it? And I see that happening, with some people. So are we all competing to be as poor as possible? Like, is that what's going on? Because that's crazy. We should be, I think I'm back, support them. And then maybe, because they're of the mindset of that, if you have a discussion with them, maybe between the two of you, you can figure out what you can do in this world that's unique, that can follow that same kind of plan. Rather than tearing that person down, trying to destroy them, support and take the time to get to know a person like that. Learn how they think and talk to them. And maybe you'll find out your unique purpose, your unique entrepreneurship, where you can create abundance in your own life based on what you're really good at. And when you start doing that, all of a sudden, your whole mentality changes and you become generous because you start seeing all that magic of what happens when you start walking that path rather than the path of poverty and self-centeredness and feeling like there's never enough. All of a sudden, even if you only have $12, you feel generous in everything you do because you always know things are all around you all the time. And you can look beyond yourself and your own needs to be able to notice somebody else that truly is in a lesser position than you. And maybe you can brighten their day with driving by them on a scooter and waving and making them smile, having a conversation with them, being generous with your time. Maybe you made cookies and you want to share them with somebody and they just happen to be right there and you give them some cookies and it makes them happy. I mean, there's plenty of things like sometimes what I'll do is I'll give an art print to someone, someone who's done something really nice for me, Maybe, I don't know, if I was a selfish person, I'd think, well, gee, I gotta hurry up and make my bills. I don't have a lot. I always know the universe is gonna take care of me. I always know God's gonna take care of me. When I listen at every moment and stay generous and don't think that I don't have anything, because I do. And I know that I have a lot less than most people. And as far as like material stuff, I let a lot of stuff go, and it feels real good. So anywho, that was just some thoughts I had. I'll be interested to see what you guys think about the whole hungry ghost thing. If you're in a situation where, and this is the last thing I'll talk about the whole hungry ghost thing, and it's just something that really does bother me, because when I had everything, and I had a lot, everyone was so nice to me and very giving, and because they wanted something. And when you don't have a lot, even though you're not asking for much, but you do need some help sometimes people can lash out at you, even when you're not trying to do anything bad, but they lash out, and they're a lot more hurtful than they would have been in, I don't know. I don't know if I can put it into words right now, but if you know what I'm talking about. Okay. So just be kind, you know? And if you really want to give something to someone, or you really want to help someone, just help them. Don't quickly turn it around to being resentful and then lashing out at them, because somehow there's this knee-jerk reaction of thinking that somehow you're getting taken advantage of. You can only get taken advantage of if you start feeling like you're supposed to get something in return for your kindnesses. Maybe if we let go of that, we could truly be generous of spirit and generous of heart. Maybe that is one of the major things that needs to change in the world too, in order to fix all these different problems that so many are noticing these days, you know, because the enemy thrives on everyone living in poverty and trying to earn and have a dog-eat-dog world and a cannibalistic society where it's like, well, I don't care about your problems because I've got my own. Well, we're all in this together, you know? And if you put more frowns on people's faces during your day than smiles, maybe you should rethink what you're doing and how you're making your money. And if you're putting more smiles on people's faces and you can feel them walk away by being around you for a few minutes or however long it is, that they feel more hopeful, that they feel inspired, that they feel happy, that they feel more comfortable in their own skin, they just feel good. It doesn't matter how much you have financially or materially, you are abundant and you're doing really great things. And maybe one day, the world, I assume, bye.